Exclusive contract from Feilu Novel Network Novel. Elf. The way of heaven rewards diligence. I became Sakaki. Chen travels through a world where elves and cities blend together. Awakening the heavenly way rewards diligence reward system. No effort, no gain. A waste unicorn that hasn't evolved in 3 years. But in the realm of divine beasts, they fight against the Lord of Reversal, riding Ladina. The defect of a unicorn rhinoceros that is despised by others. But under Feilu, he fought fiercely against the earth and transformed into Guladu. Awakening from the flame of destruction, the Spitfire dragon blends the dark dream of the legendary, genetic factor, of superpowers, and the thorn armor shell inherits the priesthood of the frozen bird in order to cultivate his own elves. Chen even created an organization called Rocket Team. When the secret realm of the gods arrived, various legends emerged one after another. Chen, who had been waiting for a long time, directly blocked the entrance of the secret realm. Those who want to go must leave something behind, otherwise they won't want to leave. All the trainers were stunned. What the hell? Quickly killing divine beasts, you still say it all depends on your own efforts. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Heavenly Way Reward System. Begging for flowers. Begging for. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Sichuan Province. Rongcheng. Rongcheng No. 3 Middle School, Class 8, Grade 3. Chen crossed over. Just because he was just fishing in class, he crossed into this parallel world. Take a moment more of a daze. Organize the thoughts and memories in the brain. Chen suddenly felt helpless. What's wrong with crossing over to travel to this world? In memory. This is a world where elves and cities blend together. Over 100 years ago. Elves descend from all over the world. Accompanied by it is a special space called the Secret Realm by humans. After the arrival of the Secret Realm, the blue star has also expanded by an unknown number of times. In this situation, countries have reacted quickly, and the large amount of resources carried in the Secret Realm has become a target of public criticism. Under the exploration of countless predecessors, elf battles have naturally become the main means of competing for Secret Realm resources. After so many years of development, elves, this emerging creature, have completely integrated into the blue star. Elves can be seen in all aspects of humanity. Nature. Elf trainers have also become a supreme profession. Everyone dreams of becoming a professional elf trainer. There is a strong sense that everything is inferior, but the elf trainer is superior. After all, professional elf trainers are the most sought-after presence in various countries. Even the struggle between major powers. It also relies on trainers and elves. So, this has also led to a phenomenon. Almost all countries have invested heavily in elf education. Strive to cultivate professional elf trainers. To the current generation of Chen and his team, the college entrance examination has been divided into 2 types. Ordinary college entrance examination and elf college entrance examination. Universities are naturally divided into ordinary universities and elf universities. But why can't I take it so seriously and apply to elf university? Chen was not immediately excited, but rather extremely depressed. As a hardcore enthusiast of Pokémon games in his past life, he was no stranger to elf battles. I have considerable confidence in passing the elf college entrance examination. Now that he can travel to the world he likes, he should be happy. But he remembered those memories in his memory and couldn't help but feel very helpless and depressed. You said you're just a unicorn beetle, why do you have to take the elf college entrance exam so hard? In this world, although elf education has become widespread, but only a few can possess elves. Not to mention that the initial elves are elves with decent combat abilities. If you have a family bird, it's fine. Lu Chen let out a bitter smile at the corner of his mouth. I want to become a professional elf trainer. You must first be admitted to a specialized elf university. And the elf university only admits top students who have passed the elf college entrance examination. According to the current strength of Lu Chen, not to mention passing the elf college entrance examination, he doesn't even have the qualification to apply yet. Because the registration requirement for the elf college entrance examination is 3 elves. Even. According to Lu Chen's understanding. In the past elf college entrance examination, the top students who were able to obtain special admission to elf universities were all outstanding among humans. Just like at Rongcheng No. 3 Middle School where he is located, the top student who was specially recruited last time was a senior who used the Spitfire Dragon. Due to its strong strength, it was specially recruited by the Dragon Kingdom Elf Training University, which ranks among the top 5 in the world. I heard that I have already entered the National Reserve Team, and my future is limitless. Think of these. Lu Chen's mentality almost exploded for a moment. How about the unicorn beetle taking its head to fight against elves like the Spitfire Dragon? Isn't everyone the boss of Sakaki, okay? Moreover, the unicorn beetles of Sakaki Daimyo have also evolved into large needle bees, making them easy to hunt down. The more Lu Chen thinks, the more helpless he becomes. We can only release the unicorn beetle from the Poke ball first. Take out a red and white ball from the desk that has been rolled out and coated, and press the button. A gentle white light flashed by. A brown-yellow caterpillar elf appeared on the desk, with a hint of confusion in its eyes. At this moment, a screen suddenly appeared in front of Lu Chen. The screen is extremely simple. There are only 4 big characters. Heaven rewards diligence, Jianqing Jianjun strives for self-improvement and perseverance. Heaven rewards diligence, as long as you work hard, you will reap rewards. Currently, the level of Heavenly Way rewards diligence is LV1, and hard work earns double the reward. Lu Chen's breath froze. Looking around slightly. I didn't notice anything unusual about anyone else. Others are still doing their own things. Difficulty cannot be achieved. Is this my golden finger? The Heavenly Way attendance system has been activated. 1 point of effort, 1 point of reward. Please raise your trainer level as soon as possible. The higher the trainer level, the higher the reward for hard work. Lu Chen looked at the prompt on the system screen and couldn't help but breathe quickly. It's a bit strange looking at my trainer's appearance. The unicorn beetle slowly wriggled its body and used a single horn on its head to push against Lu Chen's sleeve. Ding! The unicorn beetle has been moving for 3 seconds, with stamina plus 0.03, Feeling a sudden surge of strength in his body, the unicorn beetle's bewildered gaze added a hint of confusion. But his eyes still looked worried at Lu Chen. I'm fine, but do you feel anything wrong now? Seeing the movements of the unicorn beetle, Lu Chen's heart warmed. Although Lu Chen has only recently traveled, he has been fascinated by the elf world for a long time. Faced with the elf whom I have long hoped for, there are not many strangers. Even the mind seems to barely know the meaning of the unicorn beetle. Lu Chen slowly approached the unicorn beetle with his fingers and poked its soft abdomen. Ding! The unicorn beetle has been trained and its defense has increased by 0.01, ding. After exercising, the unicorn beetle's stamina plus 0.01, listen to the system prompts. Lu Chen withdrew his thoughts and gradually understood the role of the golden finger. The smile at the corner of the mouth became even more wild. Can you become stronger just by exercising? Effort pays off. Heaven rewards diligence, never deceive me. Although these 4 words may seem simple, their meanings are not just that simple. This means that Lu Chen and his elves are always on the path of progress and strength. Every minute and second is getting stronger. And it's all about strengthening in all aspects. Even the system can still be upgraded, and once one's trainer level improves, the reward for diligence will also increase exponentially. If others are on the right path, it is one effort and one gain. But at that time, Chen may have already been an effort, 10 times the reward. Think of this. Chen's gaze at the unicorn beetle added a hint of ambition. Myself, maybe I can really become the Sakaki boss of this world. It's not impossible to use unicorns to fight against those legendary mythical beasts when the time comes. Oops. When Chen was daydreaming, the unicorn beetle on the desk suddenly trembled all over. A faint yet brief breath suddenly appeared. Then it slowly disappeared into the body of the unicorn beetle. Novice level. Chen blinked, not expecting to break the shackles that his predecessor had worked hard for so many years. At this moment it was so easy to break through. Suddenly, an indescribable sense of joy fills my heart. Chapter 2. Beginner Level Unicorn Worm. Quiz. Seeking Freshness. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Oops. The unicorn beetle, who had broken through to the beginner level, was equally excited and kept rubbing against Chen's finger with its unicorn. In a moment, a tear even appeared at the corner of its eye. Insect attribute elves belong to the type of elves that break through cocoons and become butterflies, and their evolutionary type can be considered a miracle. After trying to break through repeatedly but failing again, I had to choose my predecessor as a trainer in an attempt to break through the level with the help of the trainer. In Chen's memory, the unicorn beetle suddenly appeared on the windowsill of its dormitory in the early morning of one day. Afterwards, it was like recognizing him, still persistently following him. Oops. After a moment of excitement, the unicorn beetle slowly stopped its movements. The little head began to shake left and right, and strange fluctuations seemed to be coming from within the body. Chen looked confused. Suddenly, a white thread spat out from the mouth of the unicorn beetle, wrapped directly around Chen's finger. After experiencing this kind of thing, the unicorn beetle felt its body gradually calm again. But this strange feeling feels like it has been memorized by the body. If you are willing, you can use it any time and even do better than just now. Is this spinning silk? After discovering the movements of the unicorn beetle, Chen also spoke with surprise. Spinning silk, a move he thought he needed more exercise to master, was so simple that he was comprehended by the unicorn beetle. You should know. In the real world, there are no skill learning machines in the game. All skills require elves to work hard to master. Even some special skills require elves to independently comprehend in certain specific environments and times. But it is absolutely impossible to learn without reason. The unicorn beetle is able to comprehend silk spinning as soon as it enters the beginner level, and it has to be said that its talent may be much better than Chen imagined. Ding! The unicorn beetle has gained an understanding of silk spinning and has added proficiency in silk spinning skills. Currently, the skill proficiency is 1 out of 10 for beginners. Can skills also increase proficiency through the divine reward of diligence? Chen was pleasantly surprised when he heard the system prompt. This is skill proficiency. Unlike regular physical exercise that increases attributes, skill proficiency greatly affects the strength of elves to a certain extent. The more skillful a spirit with the same level of strength is in mastering its skills, the more likely it will be to win. And according to what Chen learned from textbooks and news, the drugs that can enhance the proficiency of elf skills are all priced in millions. Even professional elf mentors and companions are calculated at thousands of elf coins per hour. This simply saved him a lot of budget in the future. After completing a mathematical conversion in his heart, Chen slowly felt at ease. Looking towards the already tired unicorn beetle. After experiencing breakthroughs and the consumption of mastering new skills, even a unicorn beetle with strengthened physical strength can't bear it anymore. It seems that the cultivation resources for unicorns are still too poor in daily life. We still need to plan a new cultivation plan for the unicorn beetle after school. Some necessary cultivation resources still need to be purchased. Seeing the unicorn curled up in a ball, Chen decided to put it in his desk as well. All right. Quiet. Just comforted the unicorn beetle. Amidst the noisy voices in the class, suddenly came a mature male voice. Schwa. In an instant, the class fell silent. Chen also looked up. A middle-aged male teacher standing in front of the podium, holding a goji berry water cup and facing the Mediterranean, is looking around the class. This is the homeroom teacher of their grade 8 class, Hefeng. Let me tell you something, it's related to the students who took the elf college entrance examination. In order to enhance your enthusiasm, the school has specially arranged a test tomorrow with the same rules as the elf college entrance examination. All students who register for the elf college entrance examination must participate. The top 3 can receive school rewards. Of course, if your strength is not strong, the school will also consider canceling your registration qualification. After Hefeng finished speaking, his eyes also glanced specifically at Chen's seat. He is well aware of Chen's strength. I have even talked to Chen several times, urging him not to give up on the path of being an elf trainer. After all, this road is not as beautiful as these children imagine. Why is this talking about Chen? I guess so, after all, the unicorn beetle Chen hasn't evolved for 3 years. What about him? Even if you encounter him in the test, can't you still beat a unicorn beetle? Also, as Hefeng finished speaking, there were also some more voices in the class. Some strange gazes looked at Chen. But with just a fleeting glance, he turned to discuss other things. After all, Chen and the unicorn beetle are not uncommon to them. Perhaps there are still many people who hope to meet him in the test. Isn't it better to win the first victory like this? Hefeng also sighed and announced the end of school without saying much. As a teacher, he has done everything he can. I just hope that when Chen is hit, he doesn't take it too hard. The unicorn beetle was awakened by the sound in the desk. Upon hearing the conversation around him, I couldn't help but worry and rubbed my unicorn against Chen's chest. Chen lowered his head and smiled, shaking his head. It's nothing, haven't we become stronger now? After school, Chen returned to the dormitory with the unicorn beetle. Climb onto your own bed in 3 or 2 steps and flip through a pile of elf books by the bedside. Open the clip on the cover and take out a bank card. This is the savings left by the predecessor's daily frugality. There's not much money, only 3,000 yuan. Even including Chen's meal expenses for next month nowadays, a common fossil on the market is priced as high as 50,000 yuan. There's no way. Chen is firm in his beliefs. He believes that the unicorn beetle will not disappoint him. Subsequently, without saying a word, he walked towards the elf department store next to the school. Half an hour later, Chen returned to the dormitory. The unicorn beetle has just finished resting at this time. Ah ha. These are all what you want to eat. This is moo milk, this is the venomous needle of the big needle bee, and this is. As Chen spoke, he introduced these things to the unicorn beetle. He picked at the department store for a while. These things were all bought by him based on the current situation of the unicorn beetle. Moo milk, 200 yuan per can. Chen bought 5 cans and spent 1,000 yuan. The milk in a large milk can make up for the nutrients that the unicorn beetle previously lacked. And the poisonous needle, it is the key to enabling the unicorn beetle to master the poison needle skill. This type of poison needle is not the type of item in the game that can enhance the power of poison attribute skills. On the contrary, it was taken from the body of the large needle bee, which can be considered as consumables. The price of a large bee venom needle is 1,000 yuan. Lu Chen hesitated for a while before deciding to buy it. Finally, I bought a brand new Poké Ball for 500 yuan. A total of 2,500 sprite coins were spent. The small vault shrank instantly, leaving only 500 yuan. But Lu Chen did not regret it. The unicorn beetle on the side looked at Lu Chen's movements, with a hint of firmness in its eyes. Not much action, just silently following Lu Chen's guidance to take down those nutrients one by one. Ding! You have carefully planned a nutrition plan for the unicorn beetle, and have gained some knowledge. Cultivation experience +1. Chapter 3. Practice level spinning. Xie Qinyi's request. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Upon hearing the system prompt, Lu Chen's face froze. Immediately filled with joy. So even oneself can become stronger through the Heavenly Way reward system. This also means when cultivating elves on your own, you can enhance your ability to cultivate them. Isn't it possible to improve one's command ability by fighting against other trainers? Even diverge one more thought: if I keep exercising, can I be like in my previous life's comics? Is it possible to wrestle with combat attribute elves solely based on human bodies? Thinking of himself wrestling with the mother monster's muscles, Lu Chen felt a chill in his heart. Cough. Mother monster power or something, let's forget it. However, since the ability of the Heavenly Way to reward diligence can work on him, so in the future, he will also follow the training of the unicorn beetle. After all, as long as you exercise, you can reap rewards. Along the way, it can also cultivate a bond and tacit understanding with the unicorn beetle. It's like killing 3 birds with 1 arrow. After drinking the moo milk, the unicorn beetle rested for a while. The state of the entire elf is completely different. The unicorn beetle used to have a listless appearance. Although the size of the unicorn beetle has not changed much now, at least its eyes are full of vitality. Lu Chen nodded secretly when he saw the state of the unicorn beetle. If it weren't for the lack of money, he would also like to buy some energy blocks of insect attribute elves. The benefits of energy blocks to unicorns are greater. But that thing is really too expensive. Just the most ordinary universal energy block costs a full 5,000 Pokémon coins. When Lu Chen saw this thing, he shook his head and walked away. Selling him whole is not worth that much money. Unicorn beetle, let's go to the training ground. Lu Chen looked down at the unicorn beetle and said. It's around 3 p.m. now. Because he registered for the Elf College entrance examination, he doesn't have to attend classes like other students in the afternoon. It's also convenient for him to train elves. The training ground was specially designed by the school to transform the original indoor sports field for students like them who registered for the Elf College entrance examination. Woo! The fully recovered unicorn beetle also raised its head and rubbed against Lu Chen's pants leg. The first training goal: run to the training ground. The training ground is not far from the dormitory. If it's Lu Chen running at full speed, it only takes 5 minutes to arrive. But since I have chosen to train, so the speed of the unicorn beetle needs to be appropriately slowed down. One person, one pet, go downstairs. Run towards the direction of the training ground. Encountering people along the way did not cause any strange looks. Ding! The unicorn beetle runs at full strength for 5 minutes, gains something, speed +1, ding. The unicorn beetle runs a long distance for 10 minutes, gains some points, and gains +1 stamina, ding. The unicorn beetle has been trained, crushed stones, and defense +1, the pleasant prompt sound of the system kept ringing in Lu Chen's ear. And his thoughts have also diverged. He needs this time to sort out his training plan. Now that heaven rewards diligence, it is even more important to have a clear understanding of oneself in order to fully utilize this talent. What the unicorn beetle currently lacks is still the means of attack, and relying solely on its silk spinning move cannot determine the key to victory or defeat. And in tomorrow's test, the opponent you encounter is likely to have flying elves. With the body of a unicorn beetle, in order to win, you must undergo comprehensive training. It's better to evolve into a giant hornet. Chen looked at the gasping unicorn beetle. Although his speed has slowed down, it can be considered as a fully running state for the unicorn beetle. The training ground is already in front of us, but the unicorn beetle has no intention of stopping for a short rest. Chen was also increasingly satisfied with the unicorn beetle in his heart. After all, unicorns and other creatures are not powerful elves with very good race values. But with the reward of heaven, as long as there is a persistent and strong execution ability in consciousness, this strengthened heart is much more important than any race value. The unicorn beetle is great, but the key issue still lies with me. Chen thought of his own situation and sighed in his heart. I am still too poor. If you have money, you can even buy some insect attribute energy blocks directly. Accelerate the evolution of unicorns. But there's nothing we can do now, there's not much time. The test will start tomorrow, so he can only choose to take a shortcut. Start with skill moves. The mind-turning room has arrived at the entrance of the training ground. The unicorn beetle struggled to lift its body and gazed at Chen. It seems like I did it. Chen smiled at the corner of his mouth and bent down to pick it up. Well done, very well, he said softly. Upon hearing these words, the unicorn finally rubbed against Chen's collar with satisfaction. After a 40-minute journey, its physique is much stronger than before. Having a stronger physique significantly reduces its recovery time. Entering the training ground, Chen looked around and walked straight towards the battlefield. Although it is a battlefield, it is actually a small square. Specially used for elf training or small elf battles. Because everyone is a student in the school, their strength is not very strong, and they naturally do not worry about causing any harm to their surroundings. After all, they have all undergone 9 years of compulsory education. No one would think so hard, using skills such as earthquake or stomping indoors, and at every moment, there are also teachers specially hired by the school to patrol here. I casually found an open space. Without hesitation, Chen began training with the unicorn beetle. Unicorn worms, using silk spinning. Ding! The skill of using a unicorn beetle to spin silk increases proficiency, beginner 2 out of 10, ding. The skill of using a unicorn beetle to spin silk increases proficiency, beginners 5 out of 10, ding. The unicorn beetle feels a sensation when using the spinning heart, and its spinning proficiency has greatly increased, proficiency 20/50, in just 20 minutes. The silk spinning skill of the unicorn beetle has already entered the proficiency level. Chen originally wanted to experiment to see how far the silk of the unicorn beetle had reached. But just as he stood up, he found a figure standing silently beside him, quietly looking at him. Are you Qinyi? Chen raised his eyebrows and asked in a voice. As a diameter figure in the 3rd year of high school, Qinyi is a student regarded by the school as the top-seeded player. Not only is she beautiful, but her family is also considered the top priority in the entire school. I heard that her initial elf was a round penguin, just like the previous senior who used the Spitfire dragon. They are all the 3 families that everyone envies. But it seems that the previous senior sister was also surnamed Xie. What's up? Chen asked in a voice. This unicorn beetle is already at the beginner level, isn't it? Qinyi looked at the unicorn beetle, who was working hard to train her silk spinning skills, with a hint of surprise in her eyes. In her understanding, elves like unicorns generally evolve into armored pupae when they enter the beginner level. And there will also be no trainers who will specifically train skills and moves that have almost no attack ability when spinning. Chen nodded. Can you have a fight with me? Hear the answer. Qinyi took out a Pokémon ball. White light flashed by, and a stinging beetle with the same insect attribute appeared. This little guy never learns how to spin silk and cannot evolve. I want to try to stimulate the battle. Qinyi spoke as she took out a bag of exquisitely packaged silver powder. Regardless of the outcome, I will pay the compensation. Chapter 4. Silver Powder. Unexpected Joy. Seeking. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seeing what Qinyi took out. Lu Chen was stunned for a moment. Then he asked with uncertainty, silver powder. Qinyi nodded and said, but it's not the silver powder of the Sky King level elves on the market, it's just an elite level. Upon hearing this, Lu Chen was dumbfounded. What kind of family? Still just an elite level on the market, the king level silver powder has been fried to 500,000 sprite coins per gram. This type of item that can directly enhance the power of insect attribute elf skills has always been valuable but not marketable. Getting it to the auction house could only be higher. Even if it's just an elite silver fan, it's something that even money can't buy. Can I? I'm in a hurry, Qinyi asked expressionlessly. No problem. Lu Chen slowly raised an angle at the corner of his mouth. He didn't expect to only come to the training ground for training and unexpectedly gain something. And the other party's price makes it impossible for him to refuse. Then come with me, it's too noisy here. Qinyi received a response and retrieved the stinging beetle from the Pokémon ball, walking in another direction. Lu Chen had some doubts in his heart, but he still followed along with the unicorn beetle. Not long. The two of them arrived at an independent training room. A brand new exercise equipment that can be considered a professional measuring instrument. It's completely different from the training ground outside. After entering, Lu Chen's pupils also contracted, but that's all. These things are still too far for him. Moreover, with a system of heavenly rewards and diligence, he is not just in need of this professional exercise equipment. In the blink of an eye, we arrived at a cleared space. Qinyi was wearing loose training clothes, with a head of green silk slowly drooping. Her beautiful face is still as cold as frost. Let's get started. Well, let's go for the unicorn beetle. Lu Chen nodded and commanded the unicorn beetle to approach. Spiny tail worm, you go too. The words fell. The unicorn beetle swayed slightly and appeared opposite the spiny tail beetle. The speed displayed by Qinyi was different from that of other insect attribute elves, which also revealed a hint of doubt in her eyes. However, she didn't care and just spoke up. Just use spit silk directly, don't worry about anything else. Lu Chen nodded at the words. After all, they are the financiers, so let's do whatever they say. Spit silk. Accompanied by Lu Chen's words falling. The unicorn beetle also moved accordingly. Woo! The unicorn beetle only raised its head, and a white waterfall that looked like a training horse rushed towards the stinging beetle. Lu Chen nodded as he watched from behind. It seems that taking a different approach is right. Before undergoing training, the unicorn beetle's silk spinning speed and size were not very good. But now, it has made great progress. Although it may still be just an ordinary unicorn beetle, it finally has the capital to participate in the battle. No longer so weak. I hope elite silver fans can successfully evolve the unicorn beetle. Lu Chen pondered for a moment in his heart. Turning his gaze to the battlefield. In an instant, White Pai Lian tightly wrapped the stinging beetle. Living like an evolved cocoon. Qinyi didn't show any expression when she saw the spiny tail worm being trapped by spitting silk. But his gaze turned away from his contempt for Lu Chen. She didn't expect that she could bring such a big surprise to her just by randomly selecting one person. Direct command. Insect bites. Como dot. A muffled sound came from the cocoon. In just a few seconds, the huge cocoon was bitten out by the stingtail worm, leaving a large hole inside. Lu Chen was somewhat surprised. I didn't expect the level of this stinging beetle to be so high that it can even bite. It seems as Qinyi said. This stinging beetle really doesn't know how to spit silk, ding. Observing the unicorn beetle, using insect bites to understand the insect bite skill, beginners 1/10, just after the stinger bites and breaks through its cocoon. The unicorn beetle also instantly learned the insect bite technique it used. Lu Chen's face lit up with joy. As he guessed, the talent of unicorns is not average. Even with the help of the Heavenly Way reward system, ordinary elves would never be able to learn a new skill from scratch in such a short amount of time. Unfortunately, he currently does not have the ability to check the status of elves. Otherwise, you can check the status of the sprites in real time and arrange corresponding training accordingly. The unicorn beetle continues to spin silk and ties it up. The current battle is not over. Lu Chen won't be distracted. Command the unicorn beetle to continue fighting. Since the other party only wants to learn spinning, he only uses spinning skills. Hiss. The white exercise suddenly converged. Cut through the air and dive directly towards the stinger. Spiny-tailed insects naturally do not have the reaction speed of unicorns. Unable to dodge, he could only be bound tightly by this training. Even if the stinging beetle learns how to bite. But its short body makes it completely unable to bite through the constraints on its body with its mouth. And naturally, Lu Chen will not give up this excellent opportunity. This is a rare way to control time, so naturally we need to expand the battlefield. Unicorn beetle, use silk to hang it up and rush over. Woo! The moment when an order is issued. The unicorn beetle did not hesitate at all. Use the spinning technique to wrap around the chandelier on the ceiling and sway your body. Then he stood up with a single horn and charged straight towards the stinging beetle. Qinyi's face turned even colder as she looked at the stinging beetle about to be hit. Poisonous needle. Como. The stinging beetle looks up, with a purple-black glow converging in its mouth. Poisonous needles shot towards the unicorn beetle in an instant. But the unicorn beetle still had its own horn upright, enduring the pain of a venomous needle piercing its body and directly colliding with the stinging beetle on the ground. Next second, the unicorn pierced through the restraint and directly pierced a small wound in the abdomen of the stinging beetle. When the unicorn beetle finally pierced the skin, the spiny tail beetle learned to spit silk and blocked it for a moment. However, still unable to change the outcome of the battle. Spiny tail beetle lost combat ability. Meanwhile, you command the unicorn beetle to defeat the stinger beetle. Battle experience +10, physique +5, unicorn beetle level +3, ding. The unicorn beetle was pierced by a venomous needle and remembered the appearance of the large bee venom needle at noon. It learned the skill poison needle, 1/50th proficiency, ding. You command the initial elf unicorn beetle to officially embark on the path of a trainer, achieving the first victory. Reward ability. Wisdom of the World Tree, can defeating opponents also increase my combat experience? Is there a first win reward? Lu Chen was slightly taken aback. Immediately. He immediately made a guess. Since there is a reward for the first victory on the road to becoming a trainer, will there be a reward for continuing on the road to becoming a trainer? Thinking of this, Lu Chen's mood was also somewhat excited. This kind of surprise that could happen at any time made him more determined on his path. After a moment of contemplation, he stepped forward and picked up the panting unicorn beetle. Turning his head, he saw Qinyi taking out a good medicine to treat the injuries caused by the stinging worm. Good guy. Lu Chen's mouth twitched. It's another good thing with value but no market. But take advantage of this gap. He also checked the special abilities rewarded by the system. Ability Wisdom of the World Tree. Having some of the wisdom of the world tree can uncover the essence of things and perhaps increase your attraction to certain elves. Chapter 5. Continuous Evolution. Big Needle Bee. Seeking. You are listening at novel full.audio. Good guy. After reading it, Chen was immediately pleasantly surprised. I didn't expect that just as I was thinking about whether I could have a probing skill, the system came straight to my door. And this ability can also attract specific elves. Although I don't know exactly what type it is, I just treat it as a surprise in my growth process. Just as Chen's thoughts were drifting, a pleasant sound came over. Qinyi has already dealt with the injury caused by the stinging beetle. Pacing up to Chen. This is the promised reward, please accept it. Say it. He handed the silver powder to Chen. Chen naturally accepted it generously and was about to leave holding the unicorn beetle. But I found that there seemed to be something wrong with the unicorn beetle in my arms. The body temperature suddenly rises. Chen still feels a bit hot holding it. Is this about to evolve? After the previous battle, the level of the unicorn beetle increased. Chen was not surprised either. The food eaten by the unicorn beetle at noon has been completely transformed into its energy in this battle. Evolution is a matter of time. However, the level increase obtained in this battle has advanced this stage. Seeing the evolution of unicorns, Qinyi did not leave immediately. She gazed at the unicorn beetle in Chen's arms, and a hint of emotion appeared on her cold face. Evolution. No matter when or where, it is a miracle that happens to elves. The unicorn beetle gradually emitted white light. Just in the blink of an eye, the unicorn beetle in Chen's hand has become a huge cocoon. Como. The stinging beetle behind Qinyi looked envious. Congratulations, Iron Shell Pupa. Chen held the cocoon in his arms, with a smile on his face. Although temporarily losing combat capability. But have they all evolved into Iron Shell Pupae? Is it still far from the giant hornet? It seems that I will give up on tomorrow's test first. Chen whispered to himself. After all, the ability of unicorns to evolve is also the reason why the energy required for the evolution of insect-like elves is low. The most important thing right now. It's better to cultivate the iron shell pupa into the giant needlebee as soon as possible. This time, we have elite silver fans provided by Qinyi. Chen estimated that it will be in these 2 days. The process of breaking armor and becoming a butterfly is quite fast. Chen doesn't feel slow either. Qinyi walked over to look at the surprised Chen and suddenly asked. By the way, will the evolution of unicorns not affect your test tomorrow? As one of the top students in school, I naturally know the importance of tomorrow's test for ordinary students. Besides, in her opinion, since Chen can cultivate the unicorn beetle so well, there should be other elves. It's just a test, it's not a big deal. Chen held the iron shell pupa and shook his head indifferently. For him, the current situation of the iron shell pupa is the most important. During the period when insect attribute elves form cocoons, it is a critical moment. Any carelessness can lead to evolutionary failure. In severe cases, it can even cause the elves to die directly in the cocoon. As a trainer, Chen naturally does not want to see such a situation happen. However, the iron shell pupa in her arms hears the words, test. I couldn't help but move in Chen's arms. It does not want its trainers to lose their qualification for the competition due to its evolution. What's wrong? Chen felt the vibration coming from his arms and was somewhat puzzled. But this vibration is getting stronger and stronger. It seems that something needs to be removed from the cocoon break out of the cocoon. Is it difficult for an iron shell pupa to evolve directly into a giant hornet? Seeing this scene, Chen also had to be so skeptical. Moment he was slightly focused, and the dazzling light that no one could see in his eyes suddenly flickered. Race. Iron shell pupa, attribute. Insect, feature. Molting, status. Emotional excitement, about to evolve. If sufficient energy is not provided in a timely manner, evolution will fail. Emotional excitement. Is it because of what Qinyi said earlier? Chen looked at the iron shell pupa in his arms, feeling mixed. But as a trainer, nature wants to advance and retreat with the elves. There is no nonsense. Chen placed the iron shell pupa steadily on the ground. After taking a deep breath, take out the silver powder from your pocket and carefully open it. What are you doing? Qinyi was particularly puzzled when she saw Chen's movements. The unicorn beetle has just evolved. Rest when needed and wait for the opportunity for evolution. Instead of strong external energy stimulation. Do you know that this is an elite silver fan? For the iron shell pupa, the energy stimulation is too great and it is difficult for it to withstand. Unless it can break through its limits and evolve with this energy, it can only be seriously injured. Even dying here. Qinyi looked at Chen coldly. I know. But Chen didn't lift his head either, just nodded in agreement. Then he slowly poured the silver powder onto the iron shell pupa. Regarding the consequences mentioned by Qinyi, he certainly knows, and because of the wisdom of the world tree, he knows better than anyone the consequences of breaking through the failed iron shell pupa. But now as a trainer of the iron shell pupa, there is no choice but to support it. And he believes that iron shell pupae can successfully evolve. The training I did today with the blessing of heaven's reward for diligence, the foundation of the iron shell pupa has been firmly established. This evolution there will definitely be no problem. The silver-white powder slowly flowed down. Form a fluorescent waterfall on the surface of the iron shell pupa. In an instant, a series of light spots emanated from the powder, rushing into the iron shell pupa eagerly. Zila. Under the energy corrosion of silver powder, a crack instantly appeared on the surface of the iron shell pupa. Feel the energy stored in the body reaching its limit at the fastest speed possible. Iron shell pupae are also undergoing crazy transformation. It remembers everything that happened today, it seems so real and unreal. It's been 3 years. It has been by Chen's side for 3 years. As the fastest evolving insect attribute elf, it seems to have let down this reputation. But now it sees a little hope. So what about limits? Only by breaking through this limit can we go further. Seeing the crazily disappearing energy of light dots. Chen's suspended heart gradually calmed down, and the situation should have stabilized. Although the energy of elite silver powder is enormous, the iron shell pupa in turn uses the needs of its own evolution to guide it. Even dual.use. The mature silk spinning skill moves, as if instinctively repairing damaged cocoons from within. Gradually, the energy agitation gradually subsides. The body function of the iron shell pupa is running wildly, and its body temperature is getting higher and higher. The body is beginning to undergo changes. A day of high-intensity special training, refined by the energy of elite silver powder. Finally, in the most perfect moment the iron shell pupa has completed a leap in the level of life. Evolving again. Come quickly, go also quickly. The light of evolution seems to be engulfed by dots of light, almost flashing away. Click. The sound of breaking comes from the cocoon. 2 white poisonous needles tore open the cocoon in an instant. Following closely behind its 2 transparent wings and a yellow and black body. My body size is several times larger than before. Standing tall, almost reaching 1.3 meters. Paired with white double needles, it looks more like a brave knight constantly guarding. I succeeded. Chen clenched his fist. All the dust settled, and he breathed a sigh of relief. Chapter 6. High Attack and High Defense. The Perfect Hexagonal Warrior. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Sizzy Beer, the evolved hornet, is also excited and emits a high buzzing sound. At the same time, he leaned in close to Lu Chen and touched him with the tentacles on his head. Now it seems to have become more shy than before. Lu Chen also smiled and helped the big hornet clean the silk thread on its body with his hand. In memory. He is well aware of the obsession of the hornet with evolving to its final form. I don't know how many times I secretly trained at home during my previous classes. But because the predecessor was unable to provide two good resource conditions, evolution was repeatedly delayed. Now, with the help of Lu Chen and Tian Dao Juqin, we have finally achieved our wish. Breaking one's limits in just a few minutes. Evolved one after another. For the giant hornet, this is indeed something worth celebrating. Xie Qinyi beside her opened her mouth slightly. Even her, who had always been as cold as ice, seemed to have never imagined that the giant hornet could create such a great miracle. Watching Xie Qinyi surprised, even looking a bit dumbfounded. Lu Chen smiled and blinked his eyes. He is also the first person who can make Xie Qinyi, who has a reputation outside, show this expression. Xie Qinyi, thank you very much for your silver powder. But he didn't interrupt either, he simply thanked the girl in front of him. Regardless of the starting points of both parties. If it weren't for Xie Qinyi's silver powder today, the unicorn beetle would never have evolved into the giant needle bee. It's not too much to say thank you. Ah. No, it's okay. Xie Qinyi seems to have just woken up from the shock of the continuous evolution of the giant hornet. There was a slight pink on the face, which made people couldn't help but have some imaginative thoughts. Then I'll leave first. Say hello to her. Lu Chen took the big hornet to this private training room. Just came out. I was stopped by Xie Qinyi behind me. So. What's your name? Lu Chen. Xie Qinyi frowned slightly. I didn't find a bug attribute elf trainer named Lu in my mind. It seems that this guy is really an ordinary student. Can you leave a contact information, student Lu Chen? Ah. My stinging worm may need to practice with me in the future. Xie Qinyi explained. After 2 seconds, she reacted again. The compensation will also be similar to just now. Hear this. Lu Chen's eyes couldn't help but brighten. Elite-level silver fans who are similar to just now. This deal is not a loss. He is now in need of money and resources. If Xie Qinyi can be caught, he may not need to worry about resource issues in the short term. Okay. Lu Chen hesitated slightly before agreeing directly. The two walked towards the outside of the training ground while exchanging contact information. Arrived at the entrance of the training ground. Xie Qinyi left directly. Lu Chen is preparing to stay and continue training the giant hornet. After all, the giant hornet has just evolved. It takes time and training to adjust and familiarize oneself with the body. For tomorrow's test, I am more confident. Immediately. He turned his gaze to the large needlebee floating quietly beside him. Race. Big needlebee, attribute. Insect/poison, feature. Insect premonition, level. Novice, level 12, potential. Top tier, skills. Spinning, proficient, insect bite, beginner, poison needle, beginner, hardening, beginner, random strike, beginner, status. Energy spilling, the unicorn beetle evolved into the giant needlebee, and its level was directly increased by 1 level, reaching level 12. However, I am still at the beginner level and still far from breaking through the regular level. But the qualifications of the big needlebee are indeed strong. Lu Chen's previous guess was not wrong. During the period of the unicorn beetle, it demonstrated strong learning ability and perseverance, and its qualifications reached the top level. You should know. In this world, there are strict official requirements for elf level. Top level is the level that stands almost at the highest point of all ordinary elves. Above this, there are only Guardian level and Legendary level that have never appeared before. The characteristics of the giant hornet are only a common premonition of insects. But Lu Chen doesn't believe in features and will rigidly follow the triggering methods in the game. In the research report of the large needlebee, it is clearly pointed out that the insect's premonition endows the large needlebee colony with an unparalleled way of crisis premonition. For the prediction of various dangers and natural disasters, it's almost as fast as the prediction of the future with superpower attributes. And there is a divine reward for diligence. Perhaps this invisible and intangible characteristic can also be triggered to become stronger through training or combat. Looking at the shining giant hornets on the field, Lu Chen nodded in satisfaction. He now has a rough plan for the giant hornet. And the things that came to mind during the previous skill training can also be added to this plan. Big Needlebee, first familiarize yourself with your new body and run back with all your might. Sizzy Beer. The big hornet simply nodded. Next up. It came to the edge of the training ground and exhaled slightly along the wall. The insect wings vibrated rapidly in an instant and flew towards the opposite end. At the moment of reaching, a single needle on the ground felt a slight lag, quickly turned around and returned, flying towards the direction of the landing morning. Ding! The big needlebee fully turns back and flies one circle, gaining some gains, with a speed of +1 ding. The big needlebee fully turns back and flies one circle, gaining some gains, with a speed of +1 ding. Big needlebee, speed +0.8, the system prompt sound keeps ringing. Lu Chen stood on the side silently recording. It seems that as the hornet gradually becomes familiar with its body, the effect of exercise is also weakening. This can also be understood. After all, as the body strength increases, the same level of training may only bring about warm up. To maintain the initial speed of being diligent, one still needs to improve their trainer qualifications as soon as possible. 30 minutes later. The big hornet leaned against the wall, panting heavily. Lu Chen took out a bottle of moo milk from his bag and fed it to help it recover its strength. It has to be said. After evolution, the great hornet's physical strength has increased significantly. When switching to a unicorn beetle, this intensity of turnaround running may only last for less than 10 minutes. Speed is a small advantage, but offensive tactics also require. Lu Chen pondered over the skill range of the great needlebee. There is a way to reward diligence, so of course he can learn all the skills. But this will directly slow down the growth rate of the giant hornet. Think of this. Lu Chen decided to focus on spinning skills and create a set of tactics for the giant hornet. It can ensure the safety of the giant hornet to a certain extent and also have sufficient attack methods. Plus the impressive speed of the giant hornet. It can completely become a nightmare for these new trainers. High attack and high defense, one hit will kill. Become a hexagonal warrior directly. Adhering to this philosophy. When designing training content, Lu Chen. The most important thing is the attack intensity and speed of the big needlebee. Use spinning skills to enhance proficiency in your spare time. Chapter 7. Quiz begins. The Three Talented Rongcheng. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next day, in the morning. The refreshing and gentle mountain breeze blew across the entire Rongcheng No. 3 Middle School. On the eastern horizon, a rising sun rises. Lu Chen and Big Needlebee stood at the entrance of the training ground, sweating profusely. Looking at the rising sun, my heart is filled with fighting spirit. Let's go. Sizzy Beer. Say it. One person and one pet walked towards today's test site. Rongcheng No. 3 Middle School is an old school. It has a long history and was established in the year of the Elven Age. Although its current strength is not as strong as the rising Rongcheng Experimental High School in recent years. But in the eyes of the older generation, Rongcheng No. 3 Middle School is truly Rongcheng No. 1 Middle School. Many parents are willing to send their children to this high school. So this also leads to the average score of the annual elf college entrance examination may not catch up with the Rongcheng experiment. But it is the school with the most enrollment from major elf universities. Even once became the school with the most talented trainers in the province. This also leads to countless people coming to observe the annual elf college entrance examination at Rongcheng No. 3 Middle School. One way is to see which dark horses or seeded players there are in this year's elf college entrance examination. Secondly, the school also invited various high-level personnel from the Rongcheng Elf Association to fight for the school's education funding for the next year. Previously, Chen had concerns about participating in such activities. I thought it was just a school set up specifically to select top students. Students like their predecessors who only had unicorns. They will give up their test spots under the guidance of their teachers. After all, if you don't have enough combat ability, you will only be beaten unilaterally after going up. Come to the testing site. This is a huge building resembling a Roman Colosseum. Many of them are already sitting in the observation seats. Chen saw an entrance and found his homeroom teacher Hefeng. This is your test number, Group E number 8. The homeroom teacher Hefeng held a thermos and handed the competition voucher to Chen. Looking at this student whom I once liked, it seems like today has suddenly become different. He was momentarily stunned. However, he still spoke to Chen about precautions. The unicorn beetle's combat ability is not strong. If you encounter an opponent, it's best to give up early. Well, I know teacher he. Chen took the admission ticket and nodded with a smile. He didn't feel anything inappropriate about what Hefeng said. In the memory of his predecessor, he was still very kind to him. Even the work and study programs during one's own vacation were recommended by he. Chen naturally accepted this sentiment. Originally, Chen wanted to tell Hefeng that his unicorn beetle had evolved into a giant hornet. But seeing a continuous influx of people coming from behind, the words that came to my mouth were still swallowed back. Forget it. Show off well later and treat it as a surprise for he. In the corridor, Yuan looked around with his admission ticket, searching for something. Here it is. Group E. If it's the 8th, it should be the 4th game of Group E. Chen. A voice came from behind. Upon hearing this, Chen turned around to look. I saw Qinyi walking towards him. Morning. Morning. Qinyi looked at the admission ticket in Chen's hand with some confusion on her eyebrows. But without asking, I just looked at Chen and asked. Did you take the test? Well, is it difficult for you to be in this group too? Chen nodded and asked in reverse. I didn't participate, I just came over as a student representative. Qinyi replied without any waves. Not participating. Upon hearing this, Chen was momentarily stunned, but after a moment, he also figured out the key points. People like Qinyi who have already taken the lead. I'm afraid the goal is not in the small tests organized by the school anymore. The test is about to begin, please prepare in advance. Repeat, the test is about to begin. At this point, the broadcast at the test site rang out. Chen and Qinyi glanced at the time and it was indeed close to the start of the competition. I'll go over first, hoping you can win first place. Well, I'll borrow your auspicious words. Say goodbye to the two. Qinyi followed the passage to the observation seat. This has become an exclusive seat for guests of various competitions. What's going on? Did you see it? Well, he's here to take the test. Qinyi is sitting in the seat of the student representative. Sitting next to her was a girl dressed in a cool way, with a look that was on par with Qinyi. Hee, I'm interested in what you said. Anren's beautiful eyes flickered under her sunglasses, and the corner of her mouth curled up in a beautiful curve. Can I ask Xia Anren's sister to go to school specifically to determine whether he will participate in the test? And I'm not a genius student yet, which really makes me curious. Say it. Xia Anren smiled and looked at Xia Qinyi. However, the latter did not clearly express any emotions. Still staring coldly at the game on the field. If you have this heart in training elves, then the professional trainer assessment will not fail. Pay more attention to your Spitfire dragon. Upon hearing these words, Xia Anren's face turned bitter. I can only sit back in my seat with resentment, watching the battle situation in silence. The next battle will be between Group E4 and Group E8. Please prepare yourselves, 2 students. Chen was waiting in the waiting corridor, and upon hearing his own number, he accelerated his pace and arrived at the battlefield. Across from her is a female classmate who looks a bit easy to bully. I should have won this game. Please send your own elves. Go, little lotus hat. The referee just finished speaking. The female classmate across from her shouted loudly and released her elf. To be honest, this way of appearing in the Chinese second form Chen really can't help it. Cough cough. Big Needle B. With a slight cough to conceal his embarrassment, Chen released the giant hornet from the Pokémon ball. Look at your opponent. The big hornet silently wiped its 2 needles, and its wings rapidly shook as it circled in the air. The newly evolved giant hornet yesterday, although not inferior in strength. But the lotus-capped little boy on the opposite side should have a higher level than the big needle bee. It is estimated to be at the level of ordinary intermediate. This type of elf is a dual attribute elf with water and grass attributes. The impact is broad. But the speed is not as fast as the big needle bee, and the attributes are not superior. Chen estimated that if the opponent didn't have any bottom cards, relying on the strength of the big needle bee, the winner can be determined in half a minute. Classmate. Thinking of this, Chen shouted towards the other side. I'm going to attack, be careful. The opposite side was suddenly startled. Take a closer look. The big needle bee, which was still in place just now, suddenly accelerated and came to the side of the little lotus hat boy. And she, because Chen's words distracted him for a moment, he lost his phone first. Lotus hat boy, use a water gun. However, being able to qualify for the test naturally affirms the strength of trainers and elves. After hearing the trainer's command, the little boy with a lotus hat's gaze instantly locked onto the position of the big needle bee. A rapid stream of water immediately rushed towards the approaching hornet. Seeing the lotus hat little child react, its trainer also breathed a sigh of relief and secretly vowed to focus next. But unfortunately, big needle bee, spinning silk. Chen's words fell. An endless white waterfall swept towards the little boy in the lotus hat. Looking at the spitting waves in front of me. The little lotus hat boy's eyes were full of panic, reflexively turning back to look at his trainer. But its trainer seemed to be dumbfounded. Stupid, standing in place at a loss. The result can only be submerged by the silk waterfall of the giant needle bee. The lotus hat little boy lost his combat ability, and the battle was won by the big needle bee. Chapter 8. Genius Class Top Students. Beyond the Top Class. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The waterfall shrouded in the spinning silk of the little boy with a lotus hat, unable to move. The referee also timely announced the outcome of the match. At the same time, looking at the delicate face of Chen, there was also a hint of appreciation in his eyes. Clearly this battle. The lotus hat boy carries an advantage in strength. But the ultimate decision is the tacit understanding between the trainer and the elf. Xia Anren, who was sitting in the observation seat, also saw this. She lifted her beautiful eyes lightly, with a slightly solemn expression in her eyes. This guy is very unusual. Do you see it? Xia Qinyi agreed on the side. Well, not to mention the trust and tacit understanding between him and the big needlebee who issue orders immediately, it's not something that ordinary people can compare to. If it weren't for you saying that the giant hornet just evolved continuously from a unicorn beetle yesterday. Xia Anren took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. With a stern expression, he said, I'm afraid I would really think he has been cultivating with the giant hornet for at least 2 years. Well, that's why I asked you if you've ever seen a trainer with the Lu surname insect attribute spirit in the genius class. Xia Qinyi slightly raised her nose. There is a hint of pride and coquettishness in the expression. I really don't have one, but he is indeed a good candidate. If possible, I can give him the recommended spot. Let's take a look again. A hint of solemnity flashed in both women's eyes, and they remained silent as they looked towards the field. The Lien Hat little boy trainer's face darkened as he retrieved the Lien Hat little boy who had been bound by a large wasp. I just still don't quite understand. Why was it that I was only momentarily mesmerized when I was approached by the giant hornet? Is the speed of an ordinary hornet really that fast? Moreover, she also has a level advantage. Come back, big needlebee. Lu Chen called back the big needlebee. This kind of test may not even be considered a warm-up for the hornet. I just tested my opponent's strength a little bit myself. Although the opponent was quickly defeated, their strength was also at the average level of Rongcheng 3rd Middle School. For ordinary students, Lu Chen should not be considered a competitor. It should be noted that, like Xia Qinyi, he is referred to as a top student by the school. Return to the rest room of Group E. As soon as Lu Chen opened the door, he saw his homeroom teacher, Lao He. Teacher He. Lu Chen. Good kid. He Feng's eyes were full of admiration, and he almost wept with joy at Lu Chen's appearance. 3 years ago. His expectations for Lu Chen are no less than those of any top-class student. After all, there are very few students who can have their own initial Pokémon in their first year of high school, and Lu Chen is usually very hardworking. So He Feng almost poured out his experience as an elite trainer. Just as time goes by, the unicorn beetle has never shown any signs of evolution, which makes He Feng very worried that Lu Chen will become passive. Originally, today's game had ended, and He Feng immediately waited underground at the competition venue. I just wanted to release Lu Chen as soon as possible. But fortunately, today, Lu Chen really gave him a big surprise. You're really? How did you evolve and not tell me? Originally I wanted to tell you this morning, but seeing that you're too busy, I wanted to give you a surprise. Surprise is there, but is your giant hornet really evolved from the unicorn beetle before? He Feng's happy face added a hint of seriousness. This matter cannot be joking. After all, since the establishment of Rongcheng No. 3 Middle School, I have never heard of any unicorn beetle that can continuously evolve into a giant hornet within a day. Yeah. Lu Chen nodded. Later, he carefully told He Feng about what happened yesterday. Xia Qinyi. When did your kid get involved with her? He Feng had a strange expression, his eyebrows twitching wildly as if he were smiling. What does it mean to get involved? She first asked me to help. Lu Chen looked at the middle-aged man's serious appearance and could tell at a glance what he was thinking. Shaking his head helplessly. Since that's the case, then there's no problem. He Feng patted Lu Chen's shoulder with a big hand, and Lang smiled. Immediately, his expression became serious and he said, but now you should be on the school's observation list. The opponent you will face next is very strong. Very strong. How to say it? Lu Chen had some doubts in his heart. He Feng sat aside and explained, the purpose of the test is to let students know their approximate level of strength, and the school will also rate them based on their performance on the field. Say it. He Feng took out a stack of documents. This is the school's scoring table specifically designed for you. Although you only have one game record, your score is almost on par with those in the top class. Lu Chen took over and took a look. Above are densely packed with various indicators. Emphasize the ones highlighted in red. This is a summary of elf strength, elf potential, and subsequent trainers. Each item is on a 10-point scale. He-Feng picked up the thermos and took a brief sip before continuing. Your current elf strength is 7 points, and the elf potential is given 4 points. The average score of trainers' reviews combined is 7.5, and the total score is close to 19 points. This score is already considered very good in the top class. Even many students in top-tier classes score less than 15 points on tests. While listening to He-Feng's explanation, Lu Chen also estimated himself. The elf strength is around 7 points, which should be like a novice intermediate. The reason why the potential is only 4 points may be because the giant hornet is already an evolutionary form, and its potential for future strength will definitely be greatly reduced. And trainer reviews. To be honest, Lu Chen really didn't understand this. Is it difficult for those teachers who score in schools to see through people's hearts and directly judge whether you can succeed in the future? This is inevitably too arbitrary, right? Because your evaluation score is too high, the opponents arranged by the school for you next will all be students from the top class. So the pressure is great for you. He-Feng sighed in his heart. Lu Chen was originally able to break into the top 3 with the strength of the big needle bee. But currently, due to his sudden rise, the school has given him a false high rating, so the next battle is likely to be a genius in the top class. I hope this kid can hold on. If it's really not possible, don't take the path of a trainer, at least you can help yourself. By the way, could teacher he disclose the rewards for this competition in advance? Lu Chen finished flipping through the documents and returned them. I don't know, but the rewards vary greatly every year. Recalling the presence of old god He-Feng. Last year's reward was 50,000 sprite coins and 1 arbitrary attribute treasure. This year is probably about the same, isn't it? 50,000 Pokémon coins. Are there any optional attribute treasures? After listening, Lu Chen's heart immediately became lively. Isn't this just an emergency? I only have over 400 Pokémon coins all over my body now. Moreover, the diet of the giant hornet is still maintained by the moo milk purchased last time. According to my current economic situation, I can't hold on for long. Please go to Group A to prepare for the battle, Student Lu Chen from Group E's 8th. Please have the 8th from Group E. At the same time, Lu Chen's name also rang out again on the radio. A cute new author is writing a book for the first time. Please leave a comment, everyone. Chapter 9. Top Class. Seeking Flowers. Seeking Evaluation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What's the situation? When can students from Group E go to Group A? I don't know. I've never encountered such a situation before. And Lu Chen. This name sounds so familiar. Is that really Lu Chen? Isn't he a famous useless unicorn beetle from Class 8 who hasn't evolved in 3 years? Let's go and take a look at Group A. Go together, go together. At the end of the broadcast, many people followed the sound of the broadcast and rushed directly towards the A group competition venue. They also want to know, why can a student from Group E be transferred to Group A for combat after the competition begins? Moreover, the name of Class 8, Lu Chen, is also familiar to most people. Many times, the teachers in each class treat him as a negative educator. Teacher He, I'll go over first. Upon hearing the broadcast, Lu Chen also spoke to Lao He and rushed towards Group A. For the opponents of the upcoming top class, he has some expectations. Even the big hornet in the Pokémon ball seems to have been infected. Shaking on Lu Chen's wristband. That's it here. Group A. Arrive at the waiting room of Group A. Lu Chen's eyes lit up. It has to be said. This top class is different. The decoration of the waiting room alone is much better than that of a regular waiting room. In his waiting room in Group E, it was as shabby as a regular classroom renovation. Which is like Group A. Not only does it have constant temperature air conditioning, but it also includes sofas, LCD TVs, and refrigerators. Are you classmate Lu Chen? Follow me. Lu Chen just arrived at Group A. A well-dressed female teacher walked towards him in the waiting room. My surname is Li, just call me Teacher Li. Well, Teacher Li. Lu Chen responded. Then he began to scrutinize. The key is the huge waiting room, why isn't there anyone? They all went to watch the battle, so naturally they wouldn't be here. Teacher Li seemed to have noticed his question and explained to him the general rules of Group A's top class. The next battle will be you. This is He Miao's information and also your opponent in the next battle. Say it. After handing him a thick stack of materials, Teacher Li left the room. Looking at the materials as if they were a paper. Lu Chen's face was bitter. Why do these top students like to do this kind of thing? Just a glance at the opponent's battle spirit and strength, I didn't take a closer look. A regular level Bulbasaur. Sure enough. Another elf from 3 families. No wonder he is a top student. It seems that the family conditions should be very good. After all, in this world, the Yuzhen family is a race that only exists in some exclusive secret realms. Without money, you may not even be able to afford the entrance fee to the secret realm. Not to mention, bring out an initial form of the Imperial Sanjia from the secret realm. Big Needlebee, come out now. After gaining a rough understanding of the opponent's strength, Lu Chen had a plan in mind. He doesn't intend to completely trust the information. After all, as a trainer, one cannot reveal all their cards. If someone with a heart wants to calculate, then it's not appropriate to handle it properly. Sizzy Beer. The Great Needlebee has completed its recovery in the Poké Ball, and its spirit have reached their best state. Race. Big Needlebee, attribute. Insect/poison, feature. Insect premonition, level. Novice, level 14, potential. Top tier, skills. Spinning, proficient at 3850, insect bite, beginner, poison needle, proficient at 2050, hardening, beginner, random strike, proficient at 10/50ths, status. Perfect state, capable of unleashing 12% of strength, the level has been raised by 2 levels, and the spinning proficiency is also about to advance. Lu Chen rubbed his chin and pondered. Sizzy Beer. The big hornet let out a soft beep. The double needles slowly crack open a gap. Please prepare for the battle between Group A's 3rd student He Miao and Group E's 8th contestant Lu Chen. At this moment, the broadcast is ringing. Lu Chen brought the big hornet directly to the corridor. There were a few people scattered in the corridor, and seeing Lu Chen's arrival, there was a hint of hostility in their eyes. After all, everyone present is top-notch. It's okay if we can't compete with those geniuses on weekdays. Is it a bit excessive for you, a regular class student, to come and touch porcelain? Moreover, from the beginning, they were in a fight against the 3rd-ranked team. This makes them somewhat embarrassed. What did this guy come from? Don't you know? This kid is the famous unicorn waste from Class 8. I have heard that his initial elf unicorn beetle did not evolve for the past 3 years, and I don't know why it suddenly evolved into a hornet. Ah. Suddenly evolving. I'm afraid this guy didn't use any contraband, did he? Do you think he looks like someone who can afford prohibited items? He's just a unlucky guy, going back and forth right away. Here's sarcastic and piercing words from around. Lu Chen furrowed his brows tightly and his gaze was not kind. It's okay to say anything about him, but if you insult your elf schwa. The wings of the big needlebee that has been following behind Lu Chen are shaking. In the blink of an eye. Arrived in front of those people. Staring at those people with ruby-like eyes. Release the elf, I can make you suffer less. Chen stood in the shadow of the corridor, whispering. My gaze is as deep as a deep pool. You. This is Group A, do you really think the hornet can do whatever it wants? The person whose face was blocked by a large wasp changed dramatically. Sweating profusely. The others were stunned at the sight, but soon they all took out their own elves. Chen, we're not the trash from Group E. Besides, if you really dare to take action, won't you be afraid of the school taking notes? Hear their words. Under the shadow, Chen chuckled and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. This is not hands-on, it's just about caring for classmates and sparring with them. Big Needle B, take action. Sizzy Beer. Bang. In the dim corridor, some collision sounds were heard one after another. But it did not attract people's attention. After all, everyone's attention is focused on the game field. Has Chen, the 8th student from Group E, arrived yet? The broadcast began to repeat Chen's name. Ah. I'm sorry, I didn't come late, did I? Quickly walking out of the corridor, Chen's face was once again covered in smiles. Arrived at the battlefield. On the other side. His opponent He Miao was staring at him impatiently. Hurry up, I'm in a hurry. Upon hearing this, Chen was not angry. Just laughing and saying, are you in a hurry? It will be ready soon. Big Needle B. Go, Bulbasaur. The battle begins. Chapter 10. Beyond the level battle. Bulbasaur. Amazing the entire audience. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Group A waiting room. Teacher Li's face was full of doubts. How come just as I saw off one Chen, everyone else disappeared? Is it difficult for someone to trouble Chen? Thinking of the school leaders going to the waiting room to inform Chen about the relevant situation and specifically transferring him to Group A. This move has caused a lot of resentment among the top students in the class. I hope those guys don't cause me any trouble. Teacher Li's footsteps quickened slightly, but there was no hint of anxiety on his face. After a moment. In the corridor not far from the waiting room. Discovered elves lying on the ground in all directions and the top students tied to the wall. Teacher Li. Teacher Li, hurry up. Help us. Teacher Li. The constant cries echoed throughout the corridor. Fortunately, this is the waiting room for Group A. Not many people have passed here on weekdays. Otherwise, if it were to be known that the top students in the school who usually show off their prowess were actually stuck to the wall and unable to come down. That's the big joke. Chen. Teacher Li looked at the mess in front of him and couldn't help but murmur. I really got into big trouble this time. Bulbasaur, Vine Whip. He Miao stood on the command podium, waving his big hand. Bulbasaur's eyes were sharp, and the flower buds on her back instantly opened. 3 rattan whips suddenly rushed towards the big hornet. It has to be said. He Miao did indeed cultivate Bulbasaur well. At this time, a typical Bulbasaur only uses a maximum of 2 rattan whips. Controlling an additional vine whip is a leap in strength for Bulbasaur. Ordinary level Bulbasaur. Chen was not in a hurry to let the hornet attack. Although he didn't like He Miao across from him. But elf battles cannot be won by acting with determination. The ordinary level Bulbasaur is stronger than the Great Needle Bee. And it's much stronger. Even with the factor of attribute restraint, it cannot change much in the face of absolute strength. But this is only the opinion of others. Ordinary level Bulbasaur, isn't that group of people from the school jury too extreme? Xia Anren watched the match on the field. Seems to be defending against Chen's injustice. In theory, Chen's giant hornet has just evolved, and currently it is only a beginner intermediate at most. Qinyi remained silent on the side. But the two willow eyebrows on the forehead have deeply furrowed. Now Lu Chen is going to suffer. Sure enough, this ordinary class can't easily produce geniuses. Ah, it's scattered. There's nothing to see. On the observation deck, many ordinary students saw two elves appearing on the field. Lu Chen was labeled as a failure in his heart. Originally, Bulbasaur belonged to the Yuzhen family. Not only does it have a higher race value than the Hornet, but it also surpasses the average beginner in terms of hard power. How can we win with the strength of a giant Hornet that is only beginner level? Moreover, there is a significant gap between the trainers of the two. One is an excellent student in the top class, and the other is a regular crane tail in the regular class. Everyone knows the outcome of this game. The big picture has been decided, isn't this kid giving up yet? The miracle of continuous evolution seems to be nothing more than that. Look again, isn't this young man giving up yet? Conference room. A few people are watching the battle situation under the high-definition camera. One of them wore a well-organized hairstyle and a simple Zhongshan suit. But the aura is unmatched by everyone in the conference room. President Xie said the same. After all, young people still need to be given more opportunities. A middle-aged man next to him with a big belly agreed. Others followed suit and flattered one by one. After all, the person in front of me is the leader of the Rongcheng Trainers Association. Whether the approval for next year's education budget can be finalized depends on the intentions of President Xie. Xie Chongqing didn't pay attention to the flattery around him. Lock your gaze on Lu Chen in the center of the screen. He only learned from his daughter yesterday that there is such a young man in third middle school. I happened to come over to take a look during the inspection opportunity. Although the current strength is average. But Lu Chen's hot and confident gaze always seemed to surprise him. On the field of competition, Lu Chen's brain is also running wildly. Thinking about how to break the game. This guy named He Miao is indeed different from those top-class people in the corridor. It has been 1 minute since both sides began fighting. The situation on the scene still hasn't changed much. He Miao couldn't help but furrow his brow when he saw the situation. I originally looked down upon ordinary students like Lu Chen. I was thinking of resolving it as soon as possible. How could I have thought it would take so long? Even if we procrastinate until the end, we win by ourselves. In the trainer review, I'm sure my score will be significantly lower. We must resolve the battle as soon as possible. Immediately issue commands towards Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur Vine Whip blocks that useless bug's detour route. Damn it. Upon receiving instructions from the trainer, 3 Rot-10 whips burst out in an instant. Running towards the direction of the giant hornet to avoid. Accompanied by the rapid approach of the Vine Whip, the giant hornet still chooses to avoid and detour. However, in the face of increasingly dense attacks, the hornet seems to be becoming more and more sluggish. I've been hit by a cane whip many times. He Miao looked at the struggling hornet and felt extremely satisfied. It seems like I already know that I have the chance to win. Even proudly turned his dazzling gaze towards Lu Chen. However, Lu Chen didn't panic at all. Instead, he gave him a thumbs up and a particularly bright smile appeared on his face. Damn it. The anger that had already dissipated suddenly rushed to He Miao's forehead. Bulbasaur. Shoot that stinky bug down for me. Hot-blooded and youthful. Command Bulbasaur to launch a more intense attack. Little did they know. The crowd below had already noticed that the center of gravity of this game seemed to have tilted towards Lu Chen's direction. Is this the level of the top class in this class? Xie Anren spoke sarcastically, while his gaze was also teasing Xie Qinyi on the side. He Miao is just a member of the top class and has not been included in the school's team. Xie Qinyi's face showed no sadness or joy, and she answered calmly. I see, but I think Lu Chen is good. How about you take him away? Dot. Qinyi did not answer, her gaze was only fixed on the venue. With the increasingly impatient and chaotic attacking rhythm, the stamina of Bulbasaur is also greatly reduced. On the other hand, it can be compared to the big needle bee. Although there were many injuries on his body, he did not lose his rhythm. My physical strength is still very abundant. Almost done. Chen observed the state of Bulbasaur with a faint gleam in his pupils. Bumblebee, attack. Sizzy Beer. The big hornet, which had been dodging and being beaten by Bulbasaur, let out a loud cry. The chirping of insects echoed through the arena. The double needles quickly rotated around the vine whip, and then pulled the Bulbasaur over with a flick. A hint of panic flashed in Meow's eyes. However, he quickly regained his composure and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Waiting is you. Watching the giant hornet exert force to pull the Bulbasaur closer. Bulbasaur, seed bomb. Damn it. In an instant, the flower buds behind the Bulbasaur burst out with more than 10 fist-sized seeds. At such a close distance. If the hornet doesn't dodge in time, it can only stay in place and wait to die. Are you playing cards? I'm not without them. Chen calmly watched everything. Spit silk. Shield. The words fell. Countless threads instantly coagulate in the mouth of the big needle bee. Transformed into a shield. Stop all the seed bombs. And Bulbasaur is a self-eating bitter fruit. The energy of the seed bomb after explosion tilts, but it doesn't distinguish between us and the enemy. This. Impossible. The next moment. Many people suddenly stood up in the conference room. Staring solemnly at the large needle bees on the field.